Yo, we hitting hyperspeed across the finish line. Lights on the ship look like it's Christmas time. Real recognize real, homie. And you've been looking unidentified. The government lied, why is it classified if there's nothing to hide? That's why we're looking for answers up in the sky. It's The Theory with Mike Beavers.
Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Theory. Today we have a special guest on the show, Mr. Joshua Shapiro. He has studied the ancient crystal skulls for an abundance of years, a really long time, has been all over the world with these things, checking them out, studying them, learning the spirituality behind them, meditating with them in crop circles, all kinds of really interesting stuff. He's got about 6 free ebooks anybody can go read. Really interesting guy, but first, before we talk to him, as always, today's video is brought to you by kreepi and the Graveyard Goonz. Kreepi Tiki Tea has all kinds of awesome botanical medicines, kratom kava, CBD, elderberry, you name it, they got it. All kinds of great stuff. We're going to put the link to their website in the description, as well as the Graveyard Goonz. Make sure you guys go check them out. That is a hilarious live prank call show where you can get them to prank your entire family, friends, whatever, and it is definitely rated R. So you guys need to go check them out. All of Mr. Shapiro's links will also be in the description of this video to all of his books, websites, work, and stuff like that, so you can reach out to him, ask questions as you please. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. We have a wonderful guest on the show, Joshua Shapiro. He's an author. He does all kinds of cool stuff. The reason I found him was due to these crystal skulls. So me personally, I don't know much about crystal skulls other than a few clips I might have seen on Ancient Aliens and some other kind of places like that, and random, podcasts. I've watched some of Josh's podcasts here, but it's some really interesting stuff. So first, I want to start with, what are the crystal skulls?
Okay, well, first of all, Mike, I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. I saw one of your podcasts where you were interviewing one of the persons connected to the Wendlesham UFO contact. You did a great job, and also to get that person on, that's a key thing. So I want to just, thank you for that, and let other people know you have a lot of other cool interviews you do, that they should come and watch you.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. So crystal skulls, what are we talking about? Well, let's show one, and that might help people to understand. So this is an obsidian, lapis lazuli crystal skull. Lapis lazuli is a blue stone. This was made by a modern carver. There's quite a number of people, modern carvers, who take gemstones, all kinds of gemstones, and they'll make them into the shape of a skull. This one is kind of more human-like, but I've seen animal crystal skulls and alien crystal skulls and stylized crystal skulls. So it just depends on the person carving it. But of course, there are also other crystal skulls that have been found by ancient ruins, which we call ancient or very old. And they're very interesting because they usually have some really powerful energies and histories connected to them. And the histories of such skulls we may find out about. I'm going to have to put this guy down. He's about 8 or 9 pounds. So
that thing's beautiful.
At 67 years old, it's can't hold them like I used to be able to. Let's say that.
I imagine. Now
I've been involved since 1983, so quite a while.
Now you say these things kind of have like an energy to them. I've also seen, just to give people some background, you've been to a lot of these places, like some of the places where they found these crystal skulls, like ancient ruins and stuff like that.
Yeah, not as many ruins as I would like to have been to, but a few of them. Mostly what I've done is I've taken the ones that I have and I've taken them to sacred sites. Like, for example, my wife Katrina and I were invited to speak at a crystal skull conference in Mexico. So before the conference started, the organizers took us to, and I forget the name of this ancient ruin they have. It's a Mayan ancient ruin, has pyramids and everything. So we took the skulls there and we placed them on one of the pyramids. And I'm telling you, there's no way primitive people could have made that. When you look at how tall it was and gigantic, and the quality of the stone and how the stone was laid. So it was really powerful. So most of the time I get to take them to sacred sites, not so much being able to visit places where they've been found. Like I took one of our skulls to crop circles in England, and he had a great time. Now, when I say he, what this is implying, and it may sound crazy to your viewers, is that there's a living consciousness that's connected with these skulls. And if you have the right, let's call them spiritual gifts, like when the skulls talk to me, I hear it in my mind's voice. And it's not me thinking, it's somebody talking with me. I'm looking and there's a skull and we're having this conversation. So it's almost like a person. So I think that there's a living consciousness or a spiritual consciousness that can work through the skulls. Depends upon if they've been activated or not, meaning have they been woken up energetically. So it's a very interesting process. So let me get back to the definition of the skulls because I missed a couple. So we have the modern skulls that are made by modern carvers. We have very old or ancient ones, which are, some people say 1,000 or 2,000 years or more, that are being found by, in some cases, these ancient ruins. It's possible in the ruin we went to in Mexico, there may be crystal skulls in the pyramids. We don't know. Maybe even in the Great Pyramid, some people have talked about it. So things like that. But there's also some older, what are called old crystal skulls, which are kind of like the one I showed you. They're a little more primitive in their design versus the very old ones, which are very sophisticatedly done. And so that's a puzzlement because until recently, modern carvers did not have access to diamond tip tools, which is really what you need so you can really cut the stone the way that you want to. So how people from several hundred years or thousands of years ago, could make such sophisticated skulls, either they were a very advanced civilization or they were gifts from the gods, which could be extraterrestrials. So the skulls are a great mystery in that we're not totally sure where exactly did they come from, who made them, and why do these older ones have such powerful energy around them that's affecting people? Like the Mitchell Hedges skull, for example, is the most famous one. It's almost an exact duplicate of a human bone skull. And it has a movable jaw, and I've had the pleasure to see it a couple of times. And Katrina and I sponsored the guardian of the Mitchell Hedges skull, Bill Holman, when we lived in Seattle to come. So she had a chance to visit with it. And it has a very powerful energy. And a lot of people have written like they had all kinds of illnesses or physical injuries, and they would be in the presence, all of a sudden there would be a magical healing. So the skulls are very interesting, fascinating, magical, a great mystery. But I think the most important aspect of the skull, at least when I saw my first one, which was made out of amethyst quartz, and it's known today as a me, and I believe this was one of the ancient ones. It's an 8-pound skull, so it would be a young adult. Claimed to be found near a ruin in Mexico, or there were indigenous people that had that skull. And then the priest brought it to the United States and gave it to a group of businessmen to get a loan, but he never repaid the loan. So it's passed through different people. Now we're not sure who has that skull, but that's the one I saw first. And it was really amazing to me, the effect it had, but it gave me a message. And this one, by the way, is known as a me, which means friend. That was the name given by one of the guardians that I knew very well. Very wonderful man, Al Ramirez. So when I met a me the first time, it was through a picture of a me. And I got a message, and a me said, we are returning to help humanity to create world peace. So Joshua, now that you know about this, what are you going to do? So prior to that, I was like everybody else, and this was back in 1983, where, I heard of crystal skulls, but I never thought I would ever be involved. But when the skull, through a picture, not even the real thing, a facsimile, is talking to you and asks you this question, it kind of like woke me up, and I felt that it was reminding me of a promise I made. Now, this is a spiritual perspective, so hopefully most of your people are open to a spiritual perspective, that before I was born, I made a promise, which I think came from other lifetime, that I would do everything I could to help people to understand the crystal skulls. So it's kind of like a me was reminding me of the promise I made before I was born. And then it was like right after that, then I had to find out more, and I got pictures of me and I started sharing it with everyone. And then a few years later, I met the co-authors of my first book, Mystery of the Crystal Skulls Revealed, Sandra Bowen, Fr. Nick Nasarino. Mr. Nasarino at that time was considered the authority on crystal skulls. And so then a whole bunch of other things happened, and I've never stopped since. So it's like going on almost 40 years now. Next year it'll be 40 years.
A lifelong journey right there.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about it was amethyst quartz. And some of the older skulls, do they tend to be quartz crystal?
Well, the first ones that came out that were noticed, like the British Museum, the Mitchell Hedge skull, were quartz. But as we get closer to contemporary time now, the carvers are making them from every type of gemstone. And occasionally we will find, like by ruins or some family will have passed it, that they're made out of other gemstones. Like when we went to Peru, we weren't sure if there would be crystal skulls there. Now, crystal skulls are not defined just as quartz, it's any gemstone. And there was a skull found in Peru that was presented, and I don't remember the stone. It wasn't quartz, but it was something else. But it was very unique and differently carved. And I heard from other people that there were other skulls made of similar materials also down there. So, so they're not just quartz. You know, they can be any material. And then the other thing I find that's interesting is, let's say you have like 3 or 4 skulls and they're different material. Not everyone is going to be drawn to, let's say, the quartz skull. Some people may be drawn to, like this skull, lapis lazuli, or some other mineral, because, you know, we all have, I think, if you ask people and put different gemstones, you would see everybody has different gemstones that they resonate with, which I think has to do with their unique frequency of energy, you know, their vibrational frequency that they are. For me, quartz has always been the most powerful. I appreciate lapis lazuli. I like it. I'm very fond of the blue color, but to me, the quartz is the most powerful that I've experienced so far.
Very interesting. So I know I've read some stuff. And the reason I was kind of asking about if they were quartz is because they say that quartz and crystals in general can actually hold memory in a sense, almost like a hard drive in a sense, like nature's hard drive. Quartz and some of these other crystals are actually able to basically retain information in a sense of stuff around them. And to me, that's what in my head I've been thinking about when you're talking about this. Is this like, you know, could this be like ancient stuff, you know, attached to these crystals that the crystal is somehow able to like pass on to somebody else, or, you know, something along the lines of that. So I find that's very, very interesting, man.
I would agree with you with quartz. I think that it's able to record vibrational frequencies, and then it can store it pictorially, because when my co-authors worked with the Mitchell Hedges skull, which was the later part, mid to late part of the 1980s, they were using color, light, and sound, and then photographing what effect it had on the skull, and holographic images were appearing within the skull. So I think the crystal skulls could have been a form of advanced computers used by very advanced cultures in the past. And if we can ever figure out, instead of depending on a medium, because this is usually, or a sensitive, this is usually the way that we can get some information from the skulls, that we could actually create a device. There might be an entire history of our planet that these skulls have recorded that we could start watching, and we'd be absolutely amazed. Besides the fact, I think most people are starting to wake up and understand almost everything that we've been taught in school is probably wrong. Our history, the nature of our world. Why aren't they stressing the spiritual nature of ourselves? Because if you talk to like some of the indigenous people who honor the earth and nature and all that, they'll tell you, if you live a spiritual life, you will have peace. Without honoring the spirit that's inside of us, our immortal soul, you can never have peace, because if it's just based on the material, it won't work. And by the way, this is a message which came through a British medium by the name of Leslie Flint. Okay, very interesting story. I know I'm going off topic, but it will validate this, because I was reading the transcripts of their sessions. He did not go into trance, but about 3 feet above him in the air, a voice of spirit, and the spirit would identify itself as sometimes a famous person who passed away, like Chopin or Gandhi, I saw spoke, and I forgot some of the other people that were speaking, and they said, as spirits from the other side, this is what humanity is missing. Like Gandhi was trying to teach this when he was alive, how important our spirituality was. And he reflected that in the message when he was speaking through the air. What they did is they created what's called an etheric larynx. And then they would focus their thought upon the larynx, and the larynx would translate it into English so we could understand what is the soul or spirit trying to communicate. Because obviously their level, their vibrational plane is much faster than ours. So if they were talking to us, it would be like an audio tone. It would be too fast. But this larynx slows it down, takes their thought, and you can hear them. So on Leslie Flint's website, these transcripts of what the souls were saying was amazing, but it's so important for what's happening now, what we've been missing, this spirituality. And I think this is what's coming back, as people are starting to say, hey, there's something about this, or they're having experiences. Like, if you go and have a session with a crystal skull, or sit with some of these skulls, you could have a powerful spiritual experiences like I've had with some of them, information that comes, or visions, or insights about myself that were revealed. So I think that this is part of the reason why the crystal skulls are kind of returning into our conscious awareness, because they're a key tool to awaken humanity to this inner divinity, to our soul that we have inside of us. Now, in another interview that I just did, the last one, people were saying, well, all the stories you tell, they're all positive around the skulls. Well, there are some crystal skulls that some past civilizations use for like sacrifices, and they didn't work with them in a proper way. And I met some of those when I was in Mexico, and they recorded man's inhumanity to man. And I actually got sick around one of them and had to get a healing from one of the spiritual healers there. So to me, this original purpose of the skulls was a divine tool to help humanity to wake up to who we are as divine children of God, our immortal soul. But then when humanity regressed, people looked at the skull, oh, it's a power tool, and created their own version of it, and they misused it. So the skull doesn't decide, well, I'm just going to have good energy. It just records kind of what's around it. But a lot of the older skulls, they have very powerful, positive, loving energy, and they're like a catalyst for waking people up. So this is part of the reason why I'm so connected to it, is I believe that, they have a role to play. And as we're moving forward, and I don't know if people are seeing this because the media is constantly lying and not telling us what's going on right now, but there are a lot of positive things that are going on right now. I think the crystal skulls is going to become even more important, where we'll do more world peace meditations with them, and learn from them what they've recorded from all the civilizations on the earth. So to me, the main message of me was saying is, we are returning as a reminder to you that the time of peace is coming, a prophecy of a golden age. And so I've had two special experiences that show me that between 2037 and 2040, our world is going to be completely different, which is like only 15 years from now. Yep. And we will see total peace and harmony. And the old systems that have been instituted by, call them the elite or whatever you want to call them, they're falling apart right now. Like there's a new money system that's supposed to be coming up that we might start seeing or hearing about this month. This month is very important. So I think this is the reason why you asked me to talk to you, because what I'm seeing, and I've already gotten some messages, is this month we're going to start to see some really positive stuff and truth bombs coming out about what's really been going on. I think I know what's really going on, but I can't prove it. Yeah. It's just a feeling, but a lot of interesting things are happening right now.
That's for sure. Now you said something about you have 6 ebooks right now. Let's talk about some of those. What are the 6 titles, and what are they about?
Okay, so these are free ebooks. So normally what I've done in the past is I've done a lot of traveling and doing presentations, but because of the COVID and the pandemic, I felt like it's not a good time for me to travel. So what can I do as an author sitting? Create free ebooks and get them out there. So of course, we have from 2018, we created a free Crystal Skull ebook, which talks about our skulls, but a lot of other information, like the different classifications we talked about, some personal stories, an interview with Bill Holman and the Mitchell Hedges skull. So it's got a lot of really cool information. Then the next ebook I have is called Messages from Argus. Argus is a spirit guide I have who says, Joshua, I'm you in your future in 2037, 2040. You're going to change your name. You are? Can you tell me everything that's going to happen between now and then? No, I'm sorry, I can't tell you, but I can tell you that the world will be at peace by then. So there was a message when I was in Brazil that Argus wrote through me. So I put that in the book. And I also talked about my coma experience, which also I saw vision while I was in coma. I had vision of our future. So I talk about these experiences. So that's called The Messages from Argus. Then I have a book about Tartaria, which not everybody is familiar with. Tartaria was an advanced civilization. I actually heard about this first from my wife, Katrina, but I didn't get interested till I saw a video last year. Tartaria is an advanced civilization that existed like 200 some years ago, and it was wiped out. According to experts, they believe there was a flood, okay? And nobody's sure where did the water come from. I talked to a Pleiadian through one of our members of our new center, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the Pleiadian said, oh, it's the waters above. Now that gets into Flat Earth, which is another one of our free ebooks. They aimed a beam at the waters above and it totally flooded the earth. So it got rid of the people, which were Tartarians, who were quite tall, like about almost twice as tall as we were, but they left all their buildings. So one of the clues for the existence of Tartaria is if you look at buildings like the Taj Mahal or the Arc of Triumph in Paris, these are very, very sophisticated, elaborate buildings with tremendous artwork cut into the stone. We didn't have the technology to do this 200 or 300 or 400 years ago. So where did it come from, right? So the buildings, plus also, why are there some buildings where the floor, where the building's at the ground level, the floor is half above and half below? What's that all about? Okay, or why are all these stories underneath? Like, I think one of the buildings in Washington, D.C., I'm not sure if it's the Congressional building. I think it's the Congressional building. There are many floors underneath it, which we know nothing about. And there was an article, which I tried to find it on Telegram. Okay, somebody posted it one time and I was an idiot. I didn't record it and I can't find it. But in 1852 in a major United States paper, somebody was saying, hey, I'm going out traveling out west and there are these ruins of cities all over the place, like Chicago or Denver or San Francisco, where there are all these buildings with no people living there.
Very strange.
Right. So there is some evidence or proof, and also the World's Fair in Chicago in 1893, they said that they built 200 buildings in 3 years, very sophisticated, for the World's Fair, and then they destroyed them, except for 3 buildings. I'm from Chicago, so I've been in those 3 buildings: Museum of Science and Industry, Art Museum, and the Field Museum. Okay, but 200 beautiful buildings that when the fair was over, they destroyed them. Plus also Grover Cleveland, who was president then, was able to go and flick one switch and all 200 buildings lighted up with electricity. In 1893, oh, that was Tesla, they said. I don't think we were that far yet in 1893. And electric walkways were there too. Okay, so we have a lot of strange things. So the key about Tartaria is that someone may have taken out the civilization. Are they trying to do this again? Okay, it's not going to be allowed. God will not permit it. And the advanced technology the Tartarians had we will have it back, which includes their free energy system and total understanding of the planet that we live on. Okay, so that's another key book.
Wow, that sounds really interesting.
Flat Earth, a lot of people don't like me because I have to say I'm a flat earther, but there are so many holes in what's called the heliocentric theory. Like, I'll give you one example. They say our entire solar system is moving through space, right? Like 660,000 miles a second or an hour, I don't know. But here's the thing that doesn't make any sense. What about the zodiac? Every 12 months, it repeats itself.
Yep.
If we're moving in space, that should not be happening. We should be seeing different constellations in the sky, but we see the same one every year. Every
That's
year.
true.
That is a clue. Also, is there a dome in the sky? There was a video I saw on YouTube where these amateur rocketeers fired a rocket up into the sky. At 73 miles in the sky, the rocket completely stops. It has a camera on it, so you're watching it and it's swirling and it's going up and you see it going above the clouds, and all of a sudden at 73 miles, it completely stops. What's that all about? Okay. So I'm just giving you a couple of clues. So a 500-page book, how could this not have some truth to it? If I can give you a 500 free ebook talking about what is the sun, the moon, how does the flat earth, in other words, it's not a crazy thing. There are actually scientific things that back it up that it could be true. And the last thing I'll tell you is I put in there 2 documents from NASA of an experimental airplane, and they're saying flat, non-rotating Earth in their documents. And if you talk to an airline pilot and you say, hey, the world is turning, do you have to do any special maneuvers in order to compensate for that? No, we don't have to do nothing. We just fly straight ahead to the place we got to go. That doesn't make any sense either. Or if you send a cannonball straight up in the sky, and it comes straight down, how could that be if the planet's moving? It cannot be, unless, of course, you believe, oh, the gravity is moving the clouds and the sky and the cannonball with it, so it comes right back down. No, gravity wouldn't work the way they say that. So, I mean, there's a lot of these things. So what I do in the book is I share it and I let people decide for themselves. And then I have a lot of video links, so you can watch the videos, you could see what you think. But basically, Tartarian Flat Earth is saying, I don't think they taught us in school the right stuff, because they were teaching Flat Earth in school until the late 1920s or 1930s. Why is that? Why did they change it? Okay, same thing with NASA too. I saw, what's his name, who did 2001 A Space Odyssey, the director. There's a video with that director saying, hey, they hired me and they never walked on the moon. We shot it, we faked it. And that has to be because when they left the moon, who was taking the picture of watching that ship leave? How did they do it? And it was following it. So there's something not right. I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but there's so much on there was a video I saw with either a scientist or a professor in Australia on their major TV, and he said, we will never walk on the moon. The moon is plasma. We will never land on there. So this book I have for it has so much in there, it's going to drive people crazy. It's called.
I'm gonna check it out myself. That's why I bring people on here. I have my own personal beliefs about stuff, but I love hearing other people's beliefs and the reasons why they believe in it and stuff like that. So I don't knock anybody for anything. I find it extremely interesting, and I'm probably actually going to read this book just to see everything that you're talking about right now, to be honest.
Right. And I'm not making any of this up. This is all stuff, and there's a lot more. So that's 4 of the books. The 5th book, Gene Decode, is a fairly well-known whistleblower. He also has special spiritual gifts where he knows things that are going on and he has contact. I've interviewed him 4 times. So he inspired me to do another book talking about what what could really be happening behind the scenes the media
Yeah.
is not talking about. Now, it's only through May of 2021, but it's still a lot of that information in there. I think is still very valuable. So I have that book, and I'm trying to think what was the last one. So Flat Earth, Tartaria, Messages, Crystal Skulls. Gosh, I can't. Oh, yeah. Are we in a computer simulation?
Okay.
So before we moved to Atlanta, my wife Katrina came and visited her family. So I had nothing to do. So I went on YouTube and I'm watching all these videos. And I was watching videos that talked about that our world is a computer simulation. And so what I did is I wrote a book, based on the findings and the videos that I was watching. And one scientist, and I tried to reach him, but his secretary said, no way, if you're spiritual, you're not talking to this physicist. Okay.
And weird how that works, huh?
Right. So I tried to talk to him, but he said he discovered in the fabric of the physical reality is a binary code. And other scientists said, if we were not living in a simulation, you could go to infinity, but they think that the universe we're in is finite. And the last thing I'll drop on you is I had a friend, Jerry Willis, who went to Peru, and Katrina and I, we also went to this place. It's called Amaru Maru. It's this gigantic stone door by Lake Titicaca in the southern part of Peru. The local people call it the Gate of the Gods. So Jerry Willis was told by a local shaman, if you do this tone or melody or whatever in front of the door, you'll be able to walk through and go to the other side. So he did, and he walked through, and he's looking around, and he's in a white room, and there's this giant construct in front of him held by like metal bars. And a voice says, hey, you, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. How did you get here? Oh, I met the shaman. He told me this tone, and then there was a door, and I did it, and all of a sudden I'm here. Do you know what you're looking at there? No, I have no idea. That's your universe. That's your reality where you came from. We created it, but we didn't put any life into it, and life just showed up by itself. So it's pretty remarkable. So I did a meditation with one of my skulls in front of that door, singing a song off my headphones, actually a song I wrote, Crystal Skull theme song. And I started feeling after I did that those scientists, I hear them in my head. I can't hear what they're saying, but I can feel like they're talking, or like somehow a part of me is connected there. So I have a strong feeling that this is one of the doors into our world from maybe where they created it. But it doesn't matter if we're a simulation or not, because we have an opportunity here in this universe for amazing experiences. And
Yep.
that's what it's all about, is our soul wants to have different experiences. Unfortunately, this world happens to be a very difficult world right now. And a lot of people are having to learn to say, no, I don't agree with this. I'm not giving my power away. It doesn't feel right. This is the main test that's going on right now. That's why there are thousands of people, and you don't hear about it in the news too much, are protesting about all these rules the governments are making to take away our freedoms, and they're not taking it. Oh, there's one other thing I just heard from my guides I have to talk about. Now, I did this on another one, and the video stopped, and I couldn't finish it. So let's see if it happens again. Do I have your permission? It's about a document I saw on Telegram.
Yeah.
So there's this document purportedly written by the other guys, okay? And it's something that you have to sign in order to become part of their projects. There were two key parts of this document. The first one is about all the projects they do is about poison, to poison people and humanity. So all you have to do is look at COVID. They come up in a laboratory in China. They create, and I'm not sure this is a virus, because viruses do not do what COVID is purported to do, by the way, according to medical doctors. But we'll say what they say. So they create this virus, which infects all the people, and then, according to the document, then you create a solution, which is another poison for the people, and you just keep giving them one poison after the other. So the sensing that I got from that part of the document, even in the medical profession, why does everything they prescribe always have a side effect? It has a side effect, so you're going to need something else. And that will have a different side effect. So it's a never-ending battle. So this is why, for most of my life, I refuse to take any kind of medicine. I rather just, meditate or rest or, just go quiet, try to work and heal myself. But but there was one other part to this document, which is the most important, which is what is happening right now, in my opinion. And this part, it went off before I could say this part, but this is the most important. This document recognizes prime creator. Now, you would think that these individuals who are out for power and conquest probably believe in the devil or Satan. Why would they be concerned about prime creator? But the law of the universe is the following. You can only have power over people if they give it to you. So in other words, when they teach us all these wrong things and they tell us what we're supposed to do, if we give away our power, then they will continue to have that power. But what happens when people say, nope, I'm not following this, forget it? God will step in and they will lose everything. And this is what is happening right now. Because so many people are saying no now and waking up, they are not going to be able to do what they have in mind. And plus, I think too, they talk on Telegram that we're getting a lot of help from different galactics, which would bring in, cosmic brothers and sisters. They see this is going on, and because we're saying no, they have the ability to come in and start sharing more positive energy. Now, there's one other thing that happened to me recently, which I just shared with all the members of our newsletters, and I will share with your listener. So yesterday night, see, I'm wearing my Atlanta hat here. I couldn't watch the baseball game because this was a very important game. If the Braves beat the Mets, then they would have the advantage with the last 3 games of the season. If they win one more game, then they win the division. They had to beat them all 3 games this weekend, and they did. Okay, so they're in the driver's seat. So I'm listening to the game on Sunday night, and they're winning, and I'm all excited. And Spirit told me, yeah, they're going to go win this game, But around 10 o'clock, all of a sudden, I'm just relaxing in bed, and I feel so calm and peaceful. And it's like unbelievable. And I don't know, it's almost as if something got lifted off the entire planet. So I woke up early this morning and I had the same feeling, and I said, what's going on? The psychic barrier, which the elite have been using to prevent you from waking up and knowing about your spiritual part, it got taken offline.
Oh, wow.
It got taken offline, but then they got it back online this is Eastern time, about 5 or 6. And I felt that because I'm sensitive to energy. Okay. But when it was offline, I swear to God, I felt like I was connected to the dimension where we go when we pass away, to the souls there. I just felt like I could connect. I understand you guys. I understand your message about how we need to honor spirituality and peace. It's an amazing experience. So I think it's a clue that this month we're going to see some amazing stuff. And also, too, I think when the Queen was announced to have passed away, it was dead several years before, I think. But why did they pick September 8th to do it? There must have been a reason. This was also a significant event and a sign that we're moving in a positive way. And also that Russia now is backing their rubles with gold, which is called asset-backed. This is the future for all of us. All the countries in the world eventually will have their currencies, new currencies, by the way, that will be backed.
Something about that, the new currency thing you were talking about before this. What exactly is that about?
Okay, so this is my understanding. I cannot prove it. I'm not connected to somebody in the know. Okay, it's based on what I read on Telegram, but also my intuition tells me this is true. So what's happened is they're going to have a new currency called the United States Treasury Note, which is going to replace the US dollars, because the US dollars is petro-based, and the new currencies, and like the ruble and whatever they're going to call the new currencies in the other country will all be based on precious metals, which is called asset-based. So like the US Treasury Note will be based on gold, okay? They say Now, again, this may sound crazy, that there is an advanced computer system that already exists, which has replaced the SWIFT system that has been used for the banks to talk to each other and send money, which the elite can go into whenever they want and steal money. Okay. This is already has been eliminated and been replaced by a new system called the quantum financial system, which is a gift from our galactic brothers and sisters. It is unhackable, and it already probably has, it already knows all the money that we have in the bank. So you won't lose any. This is what I'm told. So it'll be a one-to-one exchange. So you will exchange your US dollars, $1 US for one US Treasury note. Each currency will have both a physical and a digital version. The quantum financial system will eliminate the need for banks because everything will be done online. It's like if you've ever used PayPal, like I send money to someone, they say, I never touched that money. It's numbers.
Yep,
The quantum, right, the quantum financial system will not only keep track of everything, but when you log in, which will require a more advanced computer to do this, it will recognize you by your DNA. So in other words, if someone else tries to log in with your login and password, it will not work, and that person will be arrested because the quantum,
something like that.
right. So this is what they're, and then the other aspect of it is called Jasara, which is a new economic system that will incorporate this new money and will be totally fair to everyone. And it's going to return the money that's been stolen by the elites to everyone, like, interest that's been charged and things like that was done illegally. So taxes that you paid, you'll get back. So it'll be a totally new financial system, and the currencies will be of equal value. This is it. Now, supposedly, according to the people reporting this, Clinton was forced to sign into law at gunpoint this, and they blew up the towers because they had some computer systems that were linked to this to delay this process. And something about the Supreme Court also got involved and said, if anybody talks about this system, you will be arrested. So it's been a very intense situation, but some people are saying in October, we might start hearing about this new system coming out. So that's what it's about.
With everything going on with cryptocurrency and the new ways people are talking about doing things with money, it'd be a good time for it to come out. That's for sure.
Right. Now, most cryptocurrencies in the new system will go away because, again, they've been perverted. But this is the key to your listeners. You want to buy Ripple and Stellar. I forget the other name. It's XLM is the abbreviation for Stellar, the 3 letters, and Ripple is XPR. Those two are going to be involved in the new system because Ripple will be backed by gold and Stellar will be backed by silver. So they're going to be used, and they'll probably be involved with the digital system for the US Treasury note and whatever other currencies there are. So
certainly our money backed by gold and stuff like that.
Right. And then eventually in the future, they'll get rid of all the physical currencies, and it'll just be all digital. But you can't do that because everybody's used to a system like what we have. So we have to go into another system that's a bit similar. And then, of course, it will take a little time to learn it. Now, the center, we've created the Center for the Advancement of Humanity. We will have a department where we'll try to help people to understand how these new systems work and teach them how to use it and so on. But I mean, we're going to cover everything paranormal: crystal skulls, Tartaria, flat Earth, spirit communication. We're going to do research. And when the wealth is returned, then all these people who have these amazing projects, humanitarian projects, spiritual projects, they'll have all the resources they need. Everybody will get paid. And in our center, people will be dancing and singing because they will only be hired for what it is that they love to do. So it will not be work. It will be play, but it will be offering a great service to humanity. And if you have everybody in there doing what they love, then there's no way that you can fail. And we'll probably have new members coming in and they'll go, I don't want to leave here. This is a great place. You guys are amazing. I want to work for you. Do you got something for me too? So that's what I see happening at our center eventually. And the first one I hope to create would be here in the Atlanta area where we are. And then we'll have sister centers. And I already have friends in 9 other countries who are waiting for us to get started and will probably help us to set up sister centers there. So I'm a typical Aries, Mike. I have so many ideas and things, and I'm not leaving this world until I get them all done, which includes my movie project too. I'd like to be involved in creating a movie on one of the stories I've written. So
what kind of plans do you have for that? You have any plans in motion for it?
well, there's nothing I can do. So I'm hopeful that through the center, because, we'll do documentaries and so on, that this will be a project for the center. Because basically when we get the center going, all the stuff I've been researching and all my materials, I'm going to donate to the center. And for the first time in my life, instead of having to be a jack of all trades and do almost everything, I'll actually have a team helping me. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, at 67, I think I deserve it after working since I was in my mid-20s doing all this stuff. So that's, quite a while.
That's powerful, man. That's very powerful stuff and a lot of dedication on your behalf.
Right. And I know you're going to show our website. So for your listeners too, if you go to our Crystal Skull website, we have some books we have published. I use Amazon. So either you get an ebook from them or a printed book. So some of our Crystal Skull books are, with Amazon, you can order them on the website. And we also have an interesting book from another publisher about Atlantis, which I believe is a direct communication from the people that were living there. So that's what that book has actually sold more copies than any of my other books.
Okay. Yeah, that Atlantis title, when people hear Atlantis, they've always been interested.
Right. But I found this book when we lived in Seattle. I think it was one of the libraries there, and I kept it and I just paid for it. I didn't pay that much for it. I said, I can't give this book up. It's too good. Yeah. And then I contacted the publisher and I made an arrangement with them so we could make the book available for a little bit less for people. Nice. And it's pretty amazing. So I think, the advanced technologies we attribute to Atlantis, we'll have those again in our future too. So it's going to be very interesting.
So you gave us a lot of information on a lot of different subjects that somehow kind of all tie into each other in a sense to go towards this peaceful, humanitarian kind of vibe to it. So I want to leave it with this. If you could give everybody watching, listening, because this is going to be on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, we'll have some listeners, some watchers. If you had one final message to give everybody, what would it be?
Okay, so this is what came to me for spirit that we could each do right now to help the process to create total peace on the planet. And then I'm going to tell a funny joke. Okay. So we have a little humor at the end. Okay, I don't know why this joke is connected to this vision, but I have to go with what comes to me. Okay, so the idea is the following. Let's each of us try to visualize in our mind, what would our world look like if we had total peace? Okay, what would that look like for you or whoever's listening? Do a meditation each day for 5 or 10 minutes, okay? And just focus on what the world will look like if we had total peace. Like, will we have advanced technologies, flying cars? Will the galactics be down here? We'll be talking with them. We'll be learning from them. They'll be participating in our sports games. We'll be exchanging music. What would that world look like if we had total peace? Now, most people have never thought about this because they couldn't, in their mind, think about, well, how could that happen? Okay, you don't need to worry about how does it happen. Okay, forget about that part. Just ask yourself for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe in a meditation or just in your mind's eye, just picture, the world if we had total peace here. Okay, and then what I'm going to say is one morning in the future, maybe it'll be between 2037, 2040, I don't know, maybe before, you'll wake up, you'll look around and you'll go, my God, that world that I imagined, it's here now. It's all around me. Because you see, the key to this is the more of us, because consciousness is what creates, the more of us who have that positive vision, regardless of what's happening outside, okay? Regardless whether it's true or false or how it's going to go or what I've talked about in October, if it's going to happen or not. if a majority of people on this planet are all visualizing a peaceful future by the power of attraction and the power of our consciousness and being divine light children, children of God, we will co-create it. And I agree with the message that Bashar, who is an extraterrestrial channeled through Dara Anka, said, that really the reality around us is the creation of our consciousness. Okay. Yep. And if you understand that, then another aspect of this message is that you're responsible for everything that happens. There is a reason why you have created in your life the challenges you have, the relationships you have, you know, the good things that you've achieved, the things that you didn't do so well, you know, whatever it is. So consciousness is the key. So that's why I'm saying this. Now, here's my joke to finish us off. So I was brought up in a Jewish family, so I like telling Jewish jokes. So there's a father, there's a priest, and there's a rabbi. And of course, the rabbi looks a lot like you, Mike. He has the long beard and the whole thing. And they're having a conversation about what part of the money they collect from their congregation they keep and what they give to God. Okay, how did they decide this? So the priest says, well, what I do is I go outside, I draw a line in the ground, I take all the money I collected, I throw it up into the air, whatever lands on one side I keep, the other side I give to God. Okay, and the priest says, well, I do something similar, except I draw a circle and throw all the money up in the air, whatever lands inside I keep, outside I give to God. And then it's the rabbi's turn. Now, probably most people don't know how you deal with a rabbi or how the rabbi operates. Generally, what happens is they don't answer you right away. They stroke their beard. If I had a long beard, I probably would look more like a rabbi. Okay, but you have the long beard. So they're stroking the beard and they're going, he's thinking. And then he says, and I'll say it in a Jewish accent, you know what, you guys, you're doing it all wrong. What you should do is take all the money you have, throw it up into the air, and let God take what he wants.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
So Mike, you like that one? Great. So Mike, I want to thank you. And for the listeners again, Mike will have all the links to our Crystal Skull site, to the Center for the Advancement of Humanity, how to get the ebooks. You'll have to email me. You'll have my email for that. And, you know, you guys can contact me too if you have any questions. And, you know, you don't have to agree. You can disagree with me. And one person on Facebook who liked my picture with a crystal skull, but he said, I'll never trust a guy who believes in flat earth. So I had to say to him, well, we agreed to disagree. At least you like the skulls and know they're important for the future. But one day in the future, we'll all know the truth about our world and we'll have a good laugh.
Yeah.
So that's what I think will happen. So
sweet. Well, man, I gotta say thank you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. This was really interesting. It kind of went in a direction I wasn't expecting at first. I did this kind of on the fly, so normally I have a little bit more time to kind of research who I'm having on to learn something, and kind of get a better broad of questions. But you're a good talker, man. You went right on to everything, and it led into it. That's all really interesting stuff, man.
Well, that's just practice of being a speaker and being spontaneous, because what I've learned is for each time I get an opportunity to speak, there's a certain group of people who are going to watch it. So I try to make sure that what is the most important insights or information to give, that they'll get that information. So that's why it's important to be a little bit spontaneous. And plus I have invisible people around me, and sometimes I hear them, they say, oh, you should tell your joke, or you should do this, or whatever. So I just learned I don't argue with them. I just go with that flow, and it always works out pretty well. Except for one time I had a guest on for our center, and the people said I talked too much and didn't let the guest speak enough. But I think it's because she was a little bit quiet. So you have to, you know, as a host, you got to make sure there's something, movement going on.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's for sure. Normally that's what my job as an interviewer is, to try to ask these questions to get the answers I want. But you did my job for me. This one was easy.
Well, it's good to hear. So anytime you want me back on, Mike, happy to come back.
100%. Thank you so much, man.
Okay, you have a good day, and thank you for inviting me.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much, man.